Another week, another shonen series. Though this one's more typical of the genre people are familiar with. I like this show, but for different reasons than the other one I picked up this season, Dr. Stone. Because while I like the characters there, I mostly just like this one because it's pretty mindless fun, shoved down our eye sockets with some great animation. Beautiful even. But that doesn't mean I don't have my gripes. So with that said, let's talk about Nen no Shobutai, or the much easier English title, Fire Force. Good, not, find out. I'm running out of clever ways to say this intro, so music. Starting off, world building is definitely this show's strong suit. It doesn't take much to get the audience up to speed on the general rules of how this world works. In fact, it's within the first few minutes of the first episode, when some random guy erupts into flames out of nowhere and a battle ensues between him and a squad of firefighters carrying heavy weapons. This sets up the main premise without so much as a word. People can spontaneously turn into these fire monsters, they're a danger, and this armed force of firefighters has to step in to stop them. Further, one of the members is dressed as a nun, hinting at some sort of religious dynamic to the organization. With these demonic-looking fire monsters, the firefighters, and a prayer from the nun uttered at the end to put its soul to rest, we're clued into the culture of this world readily. I think that's a great foot to start off on. No need for massive exposition dumps or names flashing on screen when a person shows up. Just show us the world, relationships, and an example of its struggles right away. I think that's enough of a hook to keep the viewers invested, without talking down to them like they're too stupid to remember a character's name, or telling them every single detail about how the church and firefighters were formed a few seconds into the show. I like the amount of faith the series puts in us, as viewers, to pay attention. The story follows the main character, Shinra, a guy who has the power to generate fire from his feet, propelling him forward like a rocket so he can kick really hard. And hot. He has the pretty standard shonen protagonist backstory of a family killed by insert main conflict of the series trope, and now wants to do everything in his power to become the Hokage and get recognized as the Pirate King. I mean, save as many lives as a firefighter because his family was killed by an infernal. He also has the standard weird quirk that makes him untrusted by most, so he has to fight an uphill battle of some sort. In his case, he gets a really creepy looking menacing smile whenever he's nervous, so he gets called Devil for seemingly looking evil. When he grows up, he joins the titular fire force and is put in a squad of a ragtag group of misfits in a rundown cathedral/fire station. Anyway, I'm sure you all know the song and dance by now. Sing along if you know the lyrics. Turns out the organization is corrupt and isn't solving the problem as best as it can, so Shinra has to prove himself by learning the real mystery of the Infernals, so he can save all the people and probably become mayor of New Neo Tokyo or some shit. So I'm pretty sure my flippin' breakdown of the general plot betrayed my enthusiasm for this series. Yeah, the plot is probably the weakest thing about this show so far. It's entirely by the books, so much so that you can even call out the new allies they're going to gain episodes before it actually takes place, leaving me with this sort of generic plot I'm barely paying attention to. And that's sort of sad because I think this series has a lot going for it. The setting's neat, a mix of modern and steampunk aesthetics to give the series a sort of timeless feel, but it doesn't really feel utilized when so much of the focus is pinned on a plot that could take place pretty much anywhere. I mean, honestly, change out the setting for a medieval time period and what exactly with the plot is different? Nothing. So this cool setting is underutilized. For instance, this is a scene in a later episode, but fuck it. This dude busts out this weird horn gun looking thing and rings a bell at this blast of fire. The fire disappears suddenly and the horn gun thing blows out this ice. That's super cool, and is explained as a type of technology in the world. Setting aside that it's indistinguishable from magic, because the science backing it up is complete bullshit, that's a neat thing. And the series doesn't have enough moments like that. And I think the biggest problem is the fire powers. They're so bland, inconsequential, and show-stealing. Meaning that's what all the fights center around. So having pyrokinesis is a big deal in this world because most firefighters have it. You have the second generation and the third generation. Second can manipulate fire, third can generate it. So rather than focus on all this cool technology like turning heat into cold and using the science of the world the writer created, ignore that if you could manipulate fire or generate it. Why couldn't you just do the things people from your generation do? But whatever. I think they're cool, but just unnecessary, and a distraction from what the series could be. So if anybody's still paying attention, I do like the animation. David Productions did some amazing work here to keep the action scenes exciting and engaging. I might not care much about Shinra, but seeing him blast through the air with the camera following him as he lands a kick, and fire comes shooting out the other side is fucking badass. There's an absolute ton of spectacle involved here. The line work and artistic shots is truly indicative of David Productions' work. It reminds me that this studio is so much more than Araki's meme-generating bitch. Beautiful. It's just about the only way I can describe it. So, is Fire Force good? No. And yes. It really depends on what you like in a series. The plot here is a bog-standard shonen show that doesn't really stand out on much. You've got your underdog protagonist saying he's going to save everyone as he plows through the odds to save his friends or whatever. Or the world's not quite as it seems and it's up to him, and by extension you viewer, to challenge the status quo. Blah blah blah. If you're watching for the storyline, you'll probably find yourself pretty bored. But on the other hand, if you like world building and amazing animation, especially for fight scenes, then this will be your jam. Which is not an insignificant amount of shonen fans. If you can stomach the bland narrative for some awesome animation and cool concepts, check it out. If you're not into shonen shows on principle, I don't think you're missing much. Hey, you made it to the end of the video. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and do all that other YouTube stuff because that really helps me out. Thanks for watching.